someone presented me with a confusing question. They wanted to know how they got the keys from the NLA editor onto the timeline so that Bento Buddy can export the animation. But that's not how the exporter works in its default mode. However, if you really do want to export just the keys to keep your file clean, you can enable one of these or both. One of these is for the actual animation source on the rig itself, and one is for when you are in retarget mode. You can pull keys from both of the rigs if you choose to do so, and that's all it will do. It'll pull the clean keys from it and deposit it on the target. But we're not going to use that. I'm going to show how this can be done so you can do pretty much anything using any of the tools you need in order to get the job done. And I think this is very well exampled in our simulator. If you want to watch one of those videos, you'll see cloth and some other things, rocks, whatever. And those are not key animated, but you can transfer the keys over if you want. In this particular condition, I'm going to make this avatar move around in a circle without keyframing the actual rig. And I'm going to do that first by creating a form here to honor Second Life's limits, which is a 10-meter stretch. That is to say 5 meters in any direction is the furthest a bone can actually translate. So I'm going to add a plane first to measure width, make that 10. Then I will add a curve and a NURBS curve, and I want that to be close to the outside of that plane, and I guess I could have just used that and said 5, but let's give this a little room for the arms to move so they don't go outside. I don't think it'll be a problem. If they do, I forget. I will apply the scale here. Object, apply scale. I can't see very well, so it's having a hard time finding these things. And I need something for this to follow. I'm going to make it follow a cube. Scale that down somewhat and apply the scale. Now this cube will have an object constraint of a follow path, and I will pick the path, and you'll see that it follows it when I hit animate path, but it doesn't rotate around, doesn't bank around the curve. Just click this follow curve and it will. That way our object will do the same thing. Now in pose mode, I'm going to click the pelvis because the pelvis is the thing that moves the entire rig, and under the bone constraints I'll add a child of and pick that object, which I'll do in here since it's moving around, and you'll see that it follows along. But I want it to transition from here into the path, so let's do that fun stuff. First I want to show you that if I choose the path, you can see that it completes the circle in 100 frames. Now you can change that default and it'll make it faster. But I'm going to leave it at 100. And I'm going to go back into pose and our pelvis bone is still selected, so we can see our constraint. And for the first frame, I want to bring the influence down to 0 and set a key right here on that constraint. You have to note that the key is not set on the bone here. It's set on the constraint. And then I think what I'll do is move it up to 100, or 1 as it were, at frame 40. So I'll drag that to 1 and I'll set a key there. Now you'll see that it transitions into the curve. And we have our timeline set to 250, so it's going to hiccup. And we know that each loop takes 100 frames, so let me put that to 200. I could put it to 100, but I want to show you why I'm doing this. During the first 100 frames, a transition happens during the first 40. So I don't want to continue to loop that. I want to loop from 100 to 200 because that will be a clean loop there. So I'll do that on the exporter. Animation. I have frame 1 to 200. I want the entire range. I'll improve the priority to 3. I'll enable loop. The frame start will be 100, or the loop start rather, to 200. So when it gets to frame 200, it will loop again from 100, and it'll be a smooth loop in Second Life. I just export that. And upload our animation. Let's see what it looks like. Nice, perfect, smooth loop. And just play it one more time so you can see the beginning transition. Fun.